Hello everyone, I'm Li Yong, an associate professor from Jiangxi Science and Technology Longman University. The topic today is the tour of Jiangxi. Jiangxi is a land with a long history, profound culture, and spectacular scenery, and the cradle of great minds and historical events. We are going to pay a visit to some cities, mountains, and rivers in the province to appreciate the beauty of nature, to get a deep insight into the local history and culture, and to taste the local cuisine. Born as a Jiangxi native, this is the place where I grew up, went to school, and have been working after graduation. Though I've traveled to many cities and tourist attractions many times around the province, every time I travel, I learn something new and experience more. Jiangxi is a land I shall never stop exploring, and what this land has is an interesting book I will never finish reading. So today, I'm more than happy to be your tour guide of this wonderful journey. Before we start, let's take a quick look at some simple facts about Jiangxi. So here comes the first question. Where is Jiangxi? Jiangxi is located in southeast China, the middle and lower reaches of Yangtze River. It labors Zhejiang province in the east. You might know it is capital city, Hangzhou, that is renowned for its paradise-like view, and borders Guangdong in the south, whose capital is one of the biggest cities in China, Guangzhou. The total area of Jiangxi is 166,900 square kilometers, and the population amounts to nearly 47 million by the end of 2019. The province is surrounded by mountains in the east, south, and the west, and the Yangtze River is its northern border. The basic feature of Jiangxi's landform is high in the south and low in the north. Mountains and hills account for 60% of Jiangxi's area, while rivers and lakes about 10% of the whole. There are about 2,400 rivers in Jiangxi, among which Gan River is the longest one, with a length of 751 kilometers, flowing through the whole province from the south to the north. Poyang Lake, located in the Jiujiang city of Jiangxi, is the largest freshwater lake in China, and also the largest sanctuary for the migratory birds in the world. Jiangxi is an inland province, yet not far away from the sea. The shortest distance from Jiangxi to the sea is about 150 kilometers. Jiangxi's climate is very pleasant. Situated in the north of the Tropic of Cancer, it is classed as a typical northern subtropical monsoon climate region. The sunshine here is abundant, and its long frost period is long. Mountains, rivers, and mild climate together contribute to a really good ecosystem in Jiangxi. The forest cover rate amounted to 63.1% in 2018, ranking the second among all the provinces in China, making it one of the greenest provinces in China. The heavy vegetation here provides an excellent habitation for wild animals. Jiangxi is a province with rich wildlife resources. There are many precious protected animals at national level, such as the South China tiger, the crane, the Chinese sturgeon, and the white flag dolphin, etc. The tourism resources in Jiangxi are rich, abundant, and varied, ranking it top in China, both in quantity and quality. There are 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 3 global geoparks, a dozen of national parks, and 5 A-level tourist attractions. 5A is the highest level of tourist attractions in Jiangxi, not to mention numerous national forest parks and wetland parks. Generally speaking, the features of tourism resources in Jiangxi can be summarized as follows: a green home, a red cradle, and a splendid culture with distinct local flavors. Green is the color of nature, the color of mountains and rivers. Jiangxi is one of the greenest provinces in China. Not surprisingly, it is an excellent green home for the people living here. And why is it a red cradle? In China, red symbolizes happiness and fortune, and it also represents revolution, loyalty, and justice. That's why red is the main color adopted in China's national flag and the military flag. Jiangxi is a province with glorious revolutionary history. In Chinese modern history, it is not only the starting point where the armed struggle led independently by the Communist Party of China began, the birthplace of PLA, but also the center of the Chinese Agrarian Revolutionary War and the base area of Soviet Republic of China. Therefore, Jiangxi is generally acknowledged as the red cradle in China. Now, should we take a look at its third feature? A splendid culture with distinct local flavors. Jiangxi has formed its unique local cultures of various kinds, namely scholar culture, Buddhist and Taoist cultures, porcelain culture, academic culture, and so on. By now, we have already learned why green and red are used to describe Jiangxi, and I would like to say that because of these special cultures, there is a third color, a local color, which is too unique to be defined, that can be used to describe here. And that is how our tour got its name, the tour of triple color. Okay, for the tour guide needs triple color flag, we are going to start off. The first city we are going to visit is Nanchang, the capital city of Jiangxi province. It is about 1,500 kilometers south of Beijing, the capital of China. Nanchang City, first built about 2,200 years ago, boasts a long history and a profound traditional culture. And among all of them, the first one we are going to visit is the symbol of this city, Tengwang Pavilion. Tengwang Pavilion, a Chinese traditional structure, also Nanchang's city badge, was originally built in 653 AD in Tang Dynasty by Li Yuanying on his term as governor of Hongzhou. He was a son of Li Yuan, the first emperor of Tang Dynasty. Because he had been honored with the title King Teng. King in Chinese is Wang. The pavilion was named Tengwang Pavilion. As a king far away from the political center, King Teng felt the life in Nanchang boring and dull. So he built a pavilion for entertainment, enjoying concerts and dancing all the days. Actually, the pavilion would have become no different like other buildings during that time, had it not been for the arrival of a young man about 23 years later after its completion. That young man was Wang Bo, a prominent poet in the early Tang Dynasty. He came to the pavilion for a gathering organized by the governor Yan at that time. Yan held this gathering for his son-in-law, who had already taken days writing a piece of work about Tengwang Pavilion in advance and ready to show his talent at the gathering. And the rest attendees were mostly scholars, each of whom also got invited to write something about Tengwang Pavilion, and the best work would be selected at the end of the event. He then wrote the poem extemporarily titled Preface to the collection of poems written at the Tengwang Pavilion. It was so great that it astonished everyone present, including Governor Yan, who was very angry at first, but then deeply impressed by Wang's talent. And the poetry totally changed the fate of Tengwang Pavilion. Without Wang Bo or his masterpiece, it would have become a place purely for fun and most likely to collapse one day and disappear in the dust of history. Now, Tengwang Pavilion is one of the three most famous pavilions south of the Yangtze River. The other two are Yueyang Tower in Yueyang, Hunan Province, and the Yellow Crane Tower in Wuhan, Hubei Province. The main part of Tengwang Pavilion is 57.5 meters high. Its base consists of a 2-meter high two-tier platform, symbolizing the ancient city wall. Above the platform is the main structure, consisting of 3 visible stories and 4 invisible ones. So, looking from the outside, there were as if only 3 stories. But in fact, there are 7. Now, let's walk around on the first floor. In the hall on the first floor, there is a white jade relief telling the legend of being sent to Tengwang Pavilion by a favorable wind. In the center of the picture, Wang Bo stands in the bow of the boat, sailing through huge waves, eager to reach Lanchang, which is 350 kilometers away. On the left of the relief is Wang Bo writing down the masterpiece at the gathering. The relief is based on a story written by a novelist in Ming Dynasty, several hundreds of years after Tang Dynasty. He legendized the historical event into a tale. Now, let's go up to the second floor. On the main wall of the second floor, we will see the mural of excellent persons, depicting 80 famous persons of Jiangxi province from the Qing dynasty 221 BC to the Qing dynasty 1911 AD. Though they differ in costumes, social positions, jobs, and personalities, all the figures from various dynasties coexist harmoniously in this mural. Who's the most famous of all? Pictures on the wall tell you all. Anyone who wants to study the history of Jiangxi should not miss the stories of those persons. They are all a part of Jiangxi's history and have made great contributions to the development of Jiangxi. Here we are on the third floor. In the central hall is a huge picture, Dream of Lin Chuan, based on a classic of Chinese literature, Pearly Pavilion, which was written by Tang Xianzhu, a famous dramatist born in Linchuan, now known as Fuzhou, in the Ming Dynasty. He lived in the same period of Shakespeare, and similarly to Shakespeare, his success rode the wave of a renaissance in theater as an artistic practice. What's more, both of them passed away in 1616. What a coincidence! Okay, let's step up to level 4. The fourth floor, like the second, is invisible from outside. On the front wall of the hall is a picture of splendid land, demonstrating the natural scenery of Jiangxi's mountains and rivers. Some famous places like Peak Gui, Mountain Sanqing, Dragon and Tiger Mountain, Mountain Jinggang, Mountain Nu, and the Poyang Lake are all shown on the wall, some of which we are going to visit later. The hall on the 5th floor is similar to that on the 3rd floor. connected with an outer corridor that is encircling the main body of the pavilion. Walking along the corridor, the tourists will enjoy an amazing view of the city and the Gan River that is flowing to the north at the foot of the pavilion. And there is a stage on the 6th floor where visitors get to appreciate the beautiful dance in Tang Dynasty and the soothing music played on the Chinese traditional instruments. The 6th floor is the highest level a tourist can reach. Though the visit to the pavilion comes to an end on the 6th floor, there are still more questions about this building that are waiting for answers. Historically, Tengwang Pavilion had collapsed and been rebuilt up to a shocking number of 28 times. The 29th version of the pavilion, the one we are at now, was completed on October 29, 1989. So, why had people gone through all the trouble to rebuild the pavilion again and again? Why has Tengwang Pavilion been prized so highly in history? Is it because of King Teng or its own magnificence? Actually, it is not only an antique building to Jiangxi people, but also a place to pay their respect to Wang Bo and his masterpiece, as well as their own culture. They worship their culture so much that they firmly believe that the pavilion representing their local culture should always stand erect, no matter how many times it gets destroyed. It is a palace of knowledge for visitors to learn the history and the culture of Jiangxi. It is a hall of fame for locals to commemorate the big names emerged in the history of Jiangxi. It is a temple of Jiangxi's culture, a place for the great souls in the Chinese cultural field to rest. Maybe the repeated rebuilding of Tengwang Pavilion and what it means to Jiangxi people could partly explain why Chinese civilization is the only civilization that has never once been interrupted, even after going through all the difficulties and hardships in thousands of years. So, Tengwang Pavilion is the first stop of our triple-color tour in Nanchang City. I hope so far you have enjoyed my company and the tour of this magnificent building. Okay, let's go ahead to the second stop of our tour, a tourist attraction where you could time travel to the most struggling days of China and see how those patriotic revolutionaries managed to change everything. A mile away, southeast to Tengwang Pavilion, there is another old building built about 100 years ago, much younger than Tengwang Pavilion. Just like Tengwang Pavilion, it was the tallest building of its time and a witness to a great event which changed China. The great event is the August 1st Uprising, and the old building is August 1st Uprising Memorial Museum. Last October 1st, nearly every Chinese watched the Grand Military Parade on TV to celebrate the 70th birthday of People's Republic of China. I was one of them, and I was awed by the military parade. How magnificent it was! Around 15,000 military personnel partook in the National Day Parade, in which a total of 59 formations and a military band, including more than 160 aircraft and 580 pieces of equipment, was featured. All of those belonged to a strong army with a glorious history, the People's Liberation Army. And Lanchang is the birthplace of PLA, because a vital uprising led by the Communist Party in Chinese modern history broke out here on August 1st, 1927. And the army troops participated in the uprising later became the PLA we know today. August 1st uprising is an armed uprising launched by the Chinese Communist Party in Lanchang, Jiangxi, to strike back against the Kuomintang authority, which slaughtered the Chinese Communist Party members and the masses, and to save the revolution as well. The leaders of the CPC decided to take advantage of the National Revolutionary Army led and influenced by the Chinese Communist Party to hold uprising in Lanchang, and Zhou Enlai was designated as the leader of the uprising. At 2 a.m. August 1st, 1927, troops led by CPC launched strikes on the Kuomintang army in Nanchang. After a 4-hour fierce battle, the whole city was seized. Lanchang uprising marks the beginning of armed struggle led by the Chinese Communist Party independently and establishment of the Revolutionary Army after the People's Republic of China was founded. August 1st officially became the Army Day of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. A group of data may add to the significance of the uprising in the history of China and the PLA. In 1955, the People's Liberation Army conferred 10 officers with the rank of marshals and another 10 the rank of senior generals. Of the 20 highest ranked officers in PLA, 7 marshals and 4 seniors took part in the uprising. And Zhou Enlai, the leader of the uprising, became the first premier of State Council after the foundation of PRC. Because of the very significance of this August 1st uprising, there are many buildings and places named after August 1st in Nanchang, like the August 1st Bridge, which can be seen from the Tengwang Pavilion, August 1st Square, August 1st Avenue, August 1st Middle School, August 1st Mall, and so on. All of these names show the deep sentiments Nanchang people have towards that great period of history. Now, we are going to visit the August 1st Uprising Memorial Museum, the place where the army flag once rose. During the 1920s, the tallest building in central Nanchang was Jiangxi Grand Hotel. In this hotel, led by Zhou Enlai and some other leaders, the communists started the fight against the reactionary in 1927. Therefore, Nanchang is hailed as City of Heroes, and the site was set as the Nanchang August 1st Uprising Museum 29 years later in 1956. Now, the August 1st Uprising Museum composes of the New Museum and Old Museum, covering an area of 10,155 square kilometers with a display area of 5,875 square meters. In order to keep the precious memories of those old comrades alive, the old museum has been restored to replicate how the hotel looked like 90 years ago, when these heroic revolutionaries were planning the military strategies here. The accountant's office, business department, Western cuisine restaurant, celebration hall, where the leadership conference was held, and room 25, where Zhou Enlai once worked, all of which have been restored. The new museum was completed and first opened to the public in 2007. Advanced multimedia technologies are used to reproduce the process of the uprising, and many historical relics are displayed here. There are also important artifacts, alloys, paintings, and photos to portray the glorious course of People's Liberation Army since the August 1st uprising. Now, it has become more than just a memorial site of the uprising, also a museum of Chinese military history. And here is a question: where did the rebels go? Or did they stay at Nanchang City? The answer will lead us to the next stop. And when the visit to the museum ends, we are gonna relax a little bit by starting our food hunt. The museum is located in downtown Nanchang, the perfect area for us to hunt for delicious food of local flavors. I'm not exaggerating. Nanchang people are all real foodies. They make themselves famous for their special taste for food. Nanchang cuisine has profited from cuisines of both local area and other places, emphasizing on creativity, dish variety, colors, and shapes. We can savor unique dishes such as roast and marinated food, chicken braised in 3 cups of sauces, crisp chicken, and taste some snacks like sautéed rice noodles in Nanchang style, soup stewed in poured rice crust of hometown flavor, boiled food in spicy and hot soup, and fired foods, etc. Now it is a good time for you to enjoy some quality me time before we continue our trip. I'll see you around at the third stop.